Guys, as Joker gets ready to come out, we're just a couple days away now. I feel like this whole thing is just kind of hit peak stupidity, right? Just absolute peak stupidity. And it's only getting worse now because the Access media is coming out to attack Todd Phillips. I'm not even kidding you. They're coming out to attack Todd Phillips because of course they do it. Of course they would. Here's what we got. He came out and he said that he left comedy. He didn't want to make comedy movies anymore because woke culture ruined the genre. And here's the thing. He's not wrong. He's really not wrong. But a lot of people are taking it in a multitude of different fashions. When you talk about woke culture or woke comedy, it's more like Hannah Gadsby, which is not funny, not like irreverent in what we are used to knowing as irreverent. It's not that comedy is evolving. It's that comedy has gotten stale, it's placated, and so people are trying different things, and that just tends to be the flavor of the month. I don't believe Hannah Gadsby has much talent at all, but people really seem to like her because it's something that is perhaps different, and maybe that's what they're looking for. But then again, Chappelle, Bill Burr, a lot of these other comedians are crushing it right now because they are just out there telling it like it is, and people respond to that, which is how I feel Todd Phillips here is kind of going about it. So in this particular interview, it says here that Todd Phillips is hardly the first name most audiences would associate with the current run of dark, gritty comic book movies, best known for comedy hits like the Hangover trilogy, Road Trip and Old School, and the 2004 remake of Starsky and Hutch, which is an underrated comedy, an underrated gem, in my opinion. Phillips has long trafficked in laps with just the right amount of edgy appeal. He's hardly the kind of guy to take on the violent origin story of one contemporary entertainment's most notorious villains, and yet with his Joaquin Phoenix starring Joker, he's done just that. And they ask the question, why? And I mean, he's talked about this before, but he goes into a bit more detail here. So in an interview with Vanity Fair, he opined about why he chose to move from broad comedies to something as dark as Joker. Turns out he couldn't just hang with the current culture. He says, go try to be funny nowadays within this woke culture. There were articles written about why comedies don't work anymore. I'll tell you why. Because all the effing funny guys are like, F this shit because I don't want to offend you. And a lot of people are like that. Right? Look at the situation with Shane Gillis in SNL. He said something that was stupid. I didn't find it funny. And they came for him. And he lost the gig. We've seen this time and time and time again. Tosh.0 was being heckled and he fought back. And they tried to cancel Tosh. It didn't work because it's really hard to cancel Daniel Tosh, but they tried. They tried on so many levels. Twitter has made it just irrevocably worse. Social media has made it just irrevocably worse. And Phillips here knows that because he goes on to say that Phillips was apparently afraid of the hordes of comedy haters currently active on social media. He continued, it's hard to argue with 30 million people on Twitter. You can't just do it right. So you go, I'm out. And you know what? With all my comedies, I think that what comedies are in general all have in common is that they're irreverent. So I go, how do I do something irreverent but F comedy? Oh, I know. Let's take the comic book movie universe and turn it on its head with this. So that's really where it came from. So it's interesting that the Joker, right, that the Joker came out of his kind of contempt, right? Like just his disdain, his anger with woke culture, with woke comedy, and how it tends to attack everything that it doesn't ever try to understand. It just tends to demean and diminish and demolish and destroy, right? That's what they try to do. And they've been doing this for years, right? They've been doing this absolutely for years in regards to gaming and this is like video games and tabletop and movies and television and comics. Oh my God, comics are terrible right now because of this. And the thing is, when you go woke, there's a saying, you do go broke, and that is a big part of it. People do not want their entertainment infected with this type of nonsense. As we see here, and this is true, this is Dave Chappelle's last comedy special on Netflix, Sticks and Stones. 35% on the tomato meter with 17 reviewers. This is what I don't get. 17 reviewers out of like the over 6,000 that Rotten Tomatoes has, who can watch this if they have a Netflix account, and they all have Netflix accounts. They don't come in to watch this thing, but 38,000 people have voted it a 99%. Now, the audience score, take that with a grain of salt, but there are a lot of people that did enjoy it. I found it to be very funny, very edgy, and very upfront with his beliefs and his politics, and that's absolutely fine. It's unfortunate that this is just the world we live in. And if you think this kind of thing is going to have an impact negatively on the Joker, maybe, but maybe not, because according to Comic Book Movie Today, the movie's projected for a $155 million box office opening weekend. Now, they were hoping that the movie was going to beat Venom, which took in $207 million this time last year, but $155 million on a $55 million budget. I mean, the movie's already profitable by the end of its first week, so there's that to consider as well. But this is true. Anyway, going back to the article here, despite his resistance to poking the Twitter masses with an irreverence that can only be perceived as offensive, and again, it's all about perception, right? These people want to be offended, is what Todd Phillips here is attempting to say. Not even attempting, he's actually saying it. These people want to be offended. Phillips and his film have courted more controversy than any of his previous features. Well, yeah, obviously. When was the last time Todd Phillips was like a household name? Right? Maybe in some comedy circles with The Hangover Part 3 from 2013, but then he followed that up with War Dogs in August of 2016, which kind of crashed and burned. It didn't really go anywhere. It just didn't do anything. Since the film debuted at the Venice Film Festival, and every big win, including a surprise Golden Lion and rapid entry into the awards conversation, has been met with increased scrutiny and outright worries, including warnings from U.S. military to be on the lookout for incel violence at screenings, to a premiere that closes red carpet to interviewing press, lest they ask questions so tough it makes talent walk away instead of answering them. And that's such a dismissive take from I believe that was an IndieWire article I was pulling from, right? Oh no, they might ask you questions they don't like. No, it's because you've all been attacking the movie constantly and they're just tired of it and they don't want to deal with it. And they say, listen, just watch the movie. It's time for people to see the movie. You're causing irrevocable damage to this movie by to people who haven't seen it, because you're trying to push this concept of what could be a thing. The U.S. Army sent out a statement saying, be careful, even though that was based on a warning issued by the FBI after they saw some deep web chatter, but still many in the Army found it to be uncredible. Like actual spokespeople for the military said it's an uncredible threat. LAPD has apparently upped its visibility, its presence around Los Angeles. It's getting crazy. And if you think cancel culture isn't a thing, I just want to draw your attention to this particular one here. So this is a 25-year-old actress, Seiyo Muba, who got the lead role in the stage version of The Color Purple. But then a day later, someone found a 5-year-old Facebook post containing a Bible verse that was deemed homophobic. So she got booted from the role, right? She got booted from the role because she posted a Bible verse on Facebook that was deemed homophobic. This is what Todd Phillips is talking about. It is the taking it too far, the absolute taking it too far in many cases. And people out there, the people on Twitter, the 30 million people on Twitter that just want to destroy, demolish, defame, they don't care. They don't care provided they get their pound of flesh. They don't care provided that they get sustenance from taking on somebody, taking them down, taking them out because they're not woke enough. And we talk about this because this has been happening now for a long time. It started rearing its ugly head in late 2011, early 2012, and it's only ramped itself up. It's moved through different cultures. Now it's into movies. These people don't matter. As I've said before, the movie press doesn't matter. What Hollywood should do is turn to people who are actual fans and give them the access in order to actually talk about these things. Now that might come across a little bit saying oh, you don't want criticism. That's not what I'm saying at all. Fans can be critical. But what I mean are people who have a true appreciation for the art, a true appreciation for what they're seeing, versus those that are just trying to push outrage for clicks and for views and for e-karma in their echo chamber. That's what I'm talking about. And that's exactly what Todd Phillips is saying. And that is why it is potentially important to say that the Joker could be the most important film of 2019. And I don't say that lightly. But when it comes to a cultural impasse, it's where we find ourselves right now. And this movie is being unfairly targeted by those who are fearmongers, who I think at this point are salivating for incel violence at this movie. It just feels that way. They're pushing for it so hard that they're begging for it to happen so they can be justified in their approach. As I've called them before, and I will call them again, they are cowards. And they know it. But I'll leave it to you guys, your thoughts, your opinions. Let me know down in the comments below. I do look forward to them. Please give the video a thumbs up. Please give the video a comment. Subscribe, hit the bell. If you want to support the channel, patreon.com/MattJarbo. If you've made it this far, go ahead and type in Joker in the chat so I know. I appreciate everyone doing that. It lets me know all of you badasses that come over this way. And no, really, it's an important discussion. I do want to hear your thoughts. So please leave them below. Have a good one, guys. And peace out.